These 5 lucky pennies could change someone's life forever. What if I told you that a few old American pennies hiding inside dusty boxes, forgotten drawers, or coin jars could secretly be worth over $1.47 million? Sounds impossible, right? But collectors are paying insane money for ultra-rare lucky pennies. And today, I'm revealing 5 mysterious coins that shocked the coin world. One of these pennies was discovered in terrible condition, yet experts still offered a fortune for it. Another has a tiny hidden detail that most people ignore every single day. And the craziest part? Some people may already own these coins without realizing it. In this video, I'll show you the rare penny dates you must check immediately. Hidden mint mark secrets collectors hunt for why certain damaged-looking pennies are worth more, the exact places where rare coins are sold for huge money, and how ordinary people accidentally became rich from pocket change. But don't skip too fast, because coin number 5 is the rarest and most shocking penny on this list. Experts say its value keeps rising every year, and serious collectors are desperate to get it before it disappears into private collections forever. Before you throw away old coins, watch this first. Coin number 1. Most people would never look twice at a 1956 penny. That's exactly why one of the biggest hidden treasure stories in modern coin collecting began inside a dusty gas station cash register somewhere in the American Midwest. Late at night, a cashier handed a customer a few coins as change, completely unaware that one small copper wheat penny with a tiny D mint mark was sitting among ordinary pocket change like a sleeping fortune. The customer almost spent it again the next morning on coffee. Imagine that for a second. A coin capable of selling for more than many luxury homes nearly disappeared forever into circulation because nobody recognized what they were holding. Stay with me, because what makes this 1956 wheat penny so valuable is something most people miss instantly. And if you overlook this detail, you could unknowingly lose a silent fortune worth an astonishing $167,500. The story of the 1956 wheat penny begins during one of the most fascinating periods in American coin history. America was booming after World War II. Factories were expanding, highways were growing across the country, and the Denver Mint was working around the clock producing massive amounts of coinage for a rapidly changing economy. On the surface, the 1956 wheat penny seemed ordinary. Millions were struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small d beneath the date on the obverse side. But hidden among those millions were a tiny number of coins with extraordinary preservation, unusual striking characteristics, and original surfaces that survived untouched for decades. That survival is what changed everything. Most pennies from that era were spent immediately on candy, soda, newspapers, and gasoline. They were scratched, cleaned, damaged, or lost. Very few escaped circulation in beautiful fine condition with their original color and details still intact. And today, collectors are paying shocking amounts of money to find them. Take a close look at the design, because this is where the emotion of the wheat penny truly begins. On the front of the coin, known as the obverse, you'll see the legendary profile of President Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. His calm expression faces right, while the word liberty appears beside him, and the phrase, "In God we trust," arches above his head. The date 1956 sits near the lower right side with a tiny but incredibly important D mint mark underneath. That single letter tells collectors the coin was struck in Denver, and in rare high-grade examples, that little mark can completely transform the value. On the reverse side, you'll see 2 elegant wheat stalks curving upward along the edges of the coin. Between them appears 1 cent, and United States of America, with the famous phrase, E pluribus unum, above. Those wheat ears are why collectors call it the wheat penny. And for many Americans, this design represents nostalgia, hidden wealth, and forgotten history, all in one small copper coin. Now, here's the detail most people never pay attention to. The 1956 wheat penny was made primarily from 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc, giving it that rich reddish-brown appearance collectors obsess over. The coin weighs approximately 3.11 grams and measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter. Its thickness is about 1.52 millimeters with a completely plain edge, meaning there are no ridges surrounding the coin. Those measurements sound ordinary, but advanced collectors inspect every fraction of a gram because counterfeit coins, altered dates, and damaged surfaces can slightly affect those numbers. Serious buyers use magnification, precise scales, and professional grading lights to inspect each coin carefully. And this is where things become dangerous for uninformed owners. Many people accidentally destroy valuable pennies by cleaning them. The moment someone polishes the surface, wipes away original toning, or scrubs the coin with chemicals, the historical surface becomes damaged forever. A cleaned penny can lose enormous amounts of value instantly. That's why experienced collectors always warn, never clean old coins, no matter how dirty they appear. What happens next is shocking because the real mystery surrounding the 1956 wheat penny is not simply age. It's survival. During the 1950s, pennies circulated heavily across America. Children carried them in pockets. Businesses stacked them in registers. Banks rolled them in massive quantities. Most eventually became worn nearly flat from decades of handling. But every once in a while, a nearly untouched example survived hidden away inside old collections, forgotten cigar boxes, or abandoned bank rolls. These surviving examples developed natural toning over time, creating deep copper red colors mixed with golden highlights and soft chocolate shades collectors describe as breathtaking. Natural toning acts almost like a fingerprint of authenticity. It tells experts the coin has aged naturally without artificial treatment. And when original mint luster still flashes under light after nearly 70 years, collectors lose their minds trying to obtain it. One retired collector reportedly discovered his 1956 wheat penny while sorting through inherited coins from his grandfather's attic. At first glance, it looked like another old penny mixed among dozens of ordinary cents. But under direct light, the surfaces glowed with stunning original red brilliance. The details in Lincoln's coat remained sharp. The wheat lines on the reverse were fully visible. Even the lettering appeared unusually bold. He nearly deposited the coin at a local bank before deciding to visit a professional grading service. That single decision changed everything. Experts confirmed the coin possessed exceptional preservation with rare eye appeal almost never seen for the date. Within months, collectors across multiple states began contacting auction houses trying to secure ownership before the public discovered it existed. Now picture the auction room. Quiet, tense, almost nobody speaking. Rows of experienced collectors sat watching giant projection screens while the tiny 1956 wheat penny rotated slowly under bright lights. To most outsiders, it looked impossible. How could 1 cent command this level of attention? But inside that room, everyone understood the truth. Coins like this almost never appear. The auctioneer began calmly, numbers climbing rapidly within seconds. $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. Bidders raised paddles without hesitation. Phone representatives whispered to wealthy buyers on private lines. Then suddenly the room slowed as only a few determined collectors remained. The atmosphere became electric. 40,000 became 60,000. 60 became 90. People stopped blinking. One bidder leaned forward, gripping his paddle tightly, while another nodded quietly from across the room. The final moments felt unreal. The hammer finally dropped at an astonishing $167,500 for a single penny. A coin many Americans would have tossed into a jar without a second thought. This changes everything because it proves hidden treasure still exists in plain sight. Most people assume rare coins belong only inside museums or millionaire collections. But wheat pennies continue appearing in circulation, estate sales, flea markets, antique stores, and forgotten family collections. Some remain hidden inside bank rolls, untouched for decades. Others accidentally get spent by relatives who never learned coin values. That means somewhere tonight, another valuable 1,956 wheat penny could still be sitting inside an ordinary coin jar waiting to be discovered. Collectors know this, which is why demand remains incredibly strong. Every year, more examples become damaged, lost, or improperly cleaned, reducing surviving populations even further. Meanwhile, new collectors continue entering the hobby searching for high-grade wheat pennies with original surfaces. The supply keeps shrinking while the obsession keeps growing. Pay attention to this detail because serious collectors inspect specific areas first when evaluating a 1,956 wheat penny. They study Lincoln's cheek and jawline for wear. They inspect the wheat stalks on the reverse to see whether individual grain lines remain sharp. They examine the coin under magnification, searching for scratches, corrosion, discolorations, or evidence of cleaning. Even tiny marks can dramatically affect price. Color also matters enormously. Collectors categorize copper coins as brown, red-brown, or red depending on how much original mint color survives. A fully original red example can sell for exponentially more money than darker circulated versions. That's why storage matters. Humidity, fingerprints, air exposure, and improper handling slowly damage copper over time. Experienced collectors use protective holders, climate-controlled storage, and professional grading services to preserve value. One careless mistake can cost thousands. And here's something almost nobody talks about. During the 1950s, the Denver Mint occasionally produced coins with striking irregularities caused by die wear, pressure inconsistencies, and production fatigue. Certain 1,956 wheat pennies display unusually sharp strikes, while others reveal subtle doubling effects or fascinating die characteristics that advanced specialists hunt aggressively. These tiny differences create entire subcategories of collector demand. To ordinary people, two pennies may look identical, but to experts, microscopic details can separate a common coin from an extraordinary treasure. That's why collectors spend hours studying reference books, auction archives, and grading records. The hunt itself becomes addictive because one overlooked detail can transform a coin's value overnight. Imagine finding one accidentally. Imagine opening an old family drawer and seeing a small copper wheat penny staring back at you. You notice the 1956 date. Then your heart starts racing when you see the tiny D mint mark below it. Most people would never understand what they're holding. Some would spend it immediately. Others might clean it, trying to make it shiny, destroying the very surface collectors desperately want preserved. But informed collectors know the truth. Originality is everything. History lives inside those untouched surfaces. Every scratch, every tone change, Every surviving detail tells the story of where that penny traveled across generations of American life. The emotional power of the wheat penny comes from something deeper than money. These coins survive decades of economic change, family histories, forgotten collections, and ordinary spending habits. They passed through diners, movie theaters, candy stores, and train stations. They were carried by workers, students, soldiers, and children who never imagined their spare change might someday become a hidden fortune. And now, decades later, collectors compete fiercely to recover the finest surviving examples before they disappear forever into private collections. So before you spend another penny, slow down and inspect your change carefully. Look for wheat pennies. Look for that tiny D mint mark. Look for strong details, natural color, and original surfaces. Because the next silent fortune might already be sitting inside your pocket right now. And if you ever discover a coin like this, remember the rule experienced collectors repeat constantly. Never clean it, never rush to sell it, and always have it professionally evaluated first. What looks like an ordinary 1-cent coin could secretly be worth more than a lifetime of spare change combined. Coin number 2. A man walked into a small flea market carrying a rusted coffee tin he bought for less than $10. Inside were old buttons, broken jewelry, foreign coins, and dozens of dusty American pennies stuck together from age. Most people nearby ignored the container completely. But one older collector standing beside the table suddenly froze when he noticed a single wheat penny sliding beneath the sunlight. The date read 1945. There was no mint mark beneath the year. And in that instant, the entire atmosphere changed. The collector reportedly offered cash immediately before anyone else could inspect it closely. Why? Because hidden among ordinary wartime pennies, the 1945 wheat penny without a mint mark has become one of the most quietly dangerous treasures in American coin collecting. Stay with me carefully because this coin has crossed into shocking territory, with elite examples reaching an unbelievable $230,000. And somewhere tonight, another one may still be hiding inside a forgotten jar while people continue spending them like ordinary pocket change. The story behind the 1945 wheat penny feels almost unreal because it was born during one of the most intense moments in American history. World War II was nearing its end. Factories across the United States were producing military equipment nonstop. Metal shortages had already affected coin production in previous years, and the Philadelphia Mint was operating under enormous pressure to keep coins flowing through the economy. Unlike coins struck in Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia pennies during that era carried no mint mark at all. That missing letter is exactly what identifies this coin. To most people, the absence of a mint mark looks completely normal. But to experienced collectors, it instantly signals a different production history and a completely separate rarity category. What makes the finest surviving 1945 no mint mark wheat pennies extraordinary is that so few escaped heavy circulation with their original surfaces untouched. Most were used aggressively for decades in daily commerce before vanishing into history. Take a close look at the coin itself because every detail matters. On the obverse side, Abraham Lincoln's profile stares toward the right, surrounded by the words, "In God we trust," above, and "Liberty" beside him. The date 1945 sits clearly near the lower edge, but beneath it, there is nothing. No D, no S. That blank space tells collectors the coin came from Philadelphia. On the reverse side, two iconic wheat stalks curve elegantly along both edges of the coin, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Above them appears E pluribus unum, This reverse design became one of the most beloved coin images in American history because it represents a simpler era of American life. Wheat pennies passed through the hands of soldiers returning home from war, families rebuilding their lives, and children buying candy for a single cent. But hidden among those billions of ordinary transactions were tiny numbers of exceptional coins that survived in stunning condition, waiting decades to reveal their true value. Most people miss this next detail completely. The 1945 wheat penny was struck using a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc and tin, giving it the warm reddish tone collectors obsess over today. It weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and has a thickness near 1.52 millimeters. The edge is plain without ridges, something many people never notice because they assume all coins have textured edges. But advanced collectors inspect every measurement carefully. A slight variation in weight, unusual coloration, or strange surface texture can indicate damage, alteration, or even a counterfeit coin. That's why serious buyers use magnification tools, precision scales, and professional lighting setups before purchasing rare wheat pennies. And this is where countless people unknowingly destroy value. The moment someone cleans a coin trying to make it shiny, microscopic surface damage appears instantly. Original mint surfaces are everything in coin collecting. Once those natural layers are disturbed, a coin can lose enormous value forever. Now imagine the year 1945 itself. America was emotionally exhausted from war. Millions of coins circulated rapidly through military bases, train stations, factories, and grocery stores. Pennies changed hands endlessly every single day. Because of this heavy usage, most surviving examples became worn flat over time. Lincoln's facial details faded. Wheat stock lines disappeared. Surfaces darkened from decades of handling. That's why fine-condition examples with strong detail and natural color have become so fiercely hunted today. Their survival feels almost impossible. Some experts believe many high-quality examples were unknowingly lost forever during household cleanouts, estate sales, and bank deposits. Entire collections vanished because families assumed old pennies held no value. That mistake continues happening even now. One story still circulates among collectors about a woman sorting through her grandfather's belongings after his passing. She found several jars filled with old wheat pennies and nearly carried them straight to the bank's coin counting machine. But before cashing them in, she noticed one 1945 penny looked unusually bright compared to the others. The wheat lines appeared sharp. Lincoln's hair details remained visible. Even the original copper luster flashed beneath the light. Instead of spending it, she brought the coin to a dealer who immediately realized it might be something extraordinary. Professional grading later confirmed the coin had survived in exceptional condition with remarkable eye appeal. Word spread quietly through collector circles, and soon elite buyers began preparing for battle at auction. Picture the auction room now. Silent, cold, focused. The coin rested inside a protective holder under glowing lights, while collectors studied enlarged images projected onto giant screens. Nobody there doubted what they were seeing. This was not ordinary spare change anymore. The auctioneer began slowly as bids climbed almost instantly. $20,000, $30,000, $50,000. The room tightened with tension. Several bidders dropped out quickly, unable to keep pace. But two determined collectors continued fighting aggressively. One bidder raised his paddle without hesitation, while another participated remotely through a phone representative. The numbers became surreal. 70,000 became 100,000. People in the audience stopped whispering entirely. Then came the final moments. The auctioneer paused dramatically before the final hammer slammed down at an astonishing $230,000 for a single penny most Americans would ignore on the sidewalk. This changes everything because it proves hidden treasures still move silently through ordinary life. Somewhere right now, old wheat pennies are sitting inside kitchen drawers, attic boxes, inherited collections, and forgotten piggy banks. Many people never examine dates carefully. Others don't realize mint marks matter. Some accidentally spend rare coins at convenience stores without understanding collectors are desperately searching for them nationwide. That's why demand for high-grade wheat pennies continues growing every year. Younger collectors entering the hobby are becoming obsessed with original surfaces, rare date combinations, and coins tied to major historical eras like World War II. Meanwhile, the number of surviving premium examples keeps shrinking due to damage, cleaning, corrosion, and careless handling. Pay attention to this because serious collectors inspect specific areas first when evaluating a 1945 no-mint mark wheat penny. They study Lincoln's cheekbone and jaw for friction wear. They examine the tiny wheat grain lines on the reverse side looking for sharpness. They inspect the fields around the lettering searching for scratches or cleaning marks. Copper color is also incredibly important. Coins retaining strong original red coloration can command dramatically higher prices than darker brown examples. Collectors classify them into brown, and red categories depending on how much original mint brilliance survives. A naturally preserved red specimen from 1945 can create massive excitement at auction because so few survived untouched for nearly 80 years. And here's where things become even more fascinating. Some 1945 wheat pennies display subtle striking characteristics caused by aging mint dyes and wartime production conditions. Slight doubling effects, die cracks, and unusually bold strikes can elevate collector interest significantly. These tiny differences may appear invisible to ordinary people, but advanced specialists spend years studying them. Entire collector communities obsess over microscopic variations because one overlooked detail can transform a common-looking penny into a legendary rarity. That obsession drives the market higher every year as competition intensifies for the finest known examples. Imagine finding one accidentally inside an old family coin jar. Imagine realizing the penny you nearly spent on a soda could actually be worth more than a luxury sports car. That emotional possibility is exactly why wheat penny collecting has exploded worldwide. Every collector secretly dreams of discovering a hidden fortune hiding in plain sight. And unlike treasures locked inside museums, these coins genuinely still appear in circulation from time to time when old collections are broken apart unknowingly. So before you ignore another old penny, stop and inspect it carefully. Look for the 1945 date. Look for the missing mint mark beneath the year. Study the color, the details, the wheat lines, and the surfaces. Because one tiny coin could completely change the story of your financial future. And if you ever believe you've found something special, remember this warning collectors repeat constantly. Never clean the coin, never polish it, never scratch the surface trying to improve its appearance, and never rush into selling without professional grading. The original untouched surface is where the real treasure lives. Hidden fortunes are still out there, and most people are accidentally losing them every single day. Coin number 3. Nobody in the crowded bank line noticed the old man carrying a paper roll of pennies in his jacket pocket. To everyone else, it looked like ordinary loose change collected over decades. But the moment the teller cracked open one of those faded coin rolls, a single dark copper wheat penny slid across the counter and caught the light in a way that immediately felt different. The date read 1936. There was no mint mark beneath the year. The surfaces looked old, untouched, almost mysterious, carrying the deep brown color only time can create naturally. At first glance, most people would have dismissed it as an old, worthless penny. But hidden inside that tiny 1-cent coin was a silent fortune capable of changing someone's life forever. What happened next stunned everyone in the room, because that forgotten wheat penny eventually shocked collectors with a market value reaching $252,000. And the terrifying part is this. People are still accidentally spending coins like this every day without realizing what they're holding. The 1936 wheat penny without a mint mark was born during one of the hardest periods in American history. The United States was still fighting through the lingering effects of the Great Depression. Families struggled financially. Jobs were scarce. Pennies mattered more than most people today can even imagine. A single cent could help buy food, pay transit fare, or contribute toward basic survival. Because money circulated constantly during that era, coins from the 1930s experienced heavy wear almost immediately after leaving the mint. The Philadelphia Mint produced these pennies without adding a mint mark, which means the blank area beneath the date is actually one of the most important identifying details. To ordinary people, that empty space means nothing. But to advanced collectors, it instantly identifies the coin's origin and historical significance. Most 1936 pennies lived brutal lives in circulation. They were carried through factories, diners, train stations, grocery stores, and dusty American streets during one of the toughest economic eras ever experienced. Very few survived in fine condition with their original details still visible. Stay with me because this is where the story becomes unbelievable. The design of the 1936 wheat penny carries emotional weight that modern coins rarely capture. On the obverse side, Abraham Lincoln's portrait faces right with incredible simplicity and dignity. Above him appears the phrase, "In God we trust," while liberty rests near the left edge beside the date 1936. There is no mint mark below the year, confirming the coin came from Philadelphia. The reverse side displays the famous wheat ears stretching upward along both edges, framing the words 1 cent and United States of America. Above that appears E pluribus unum. Those wheat stalks became symbols of endurance during difficult times, representing the strength of ordinary Americans surviving economic hardship. When collectors hold a genuine 1936 wheat penny today, they're not just holding copper. They are holding a surviving artifact from the Great Depression itself. Most people completely overlook the technical details that make this coin extraordinary. The 1936 wheat penny was struck using a composition of 95% copper, with the remaining 5% made from tin and zinc. That copper-rich mixture created the warm red and brown tones collectors desperately search for today. The coin weighs approximately 3.11 grams and measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter with a thickness near 1.52 millimeters. Its edge is smooth and plain without reading. These details sound small, but serious collectors study them obsessively because authenticity matters enormously at this level. Counterfeiters have attempted altering dates and surfaces for decades, especially on valuable wheat pennies. That's why professional grading companies inspect every microscopic detail carefully, including weight accuracy, strike quality, surface preservation, and metal consistency. And this next part changes everything. Unlike modern coins that often disappear quickly into digital economies, wheat pennies lived hard physical lives. They passed through thousands of hands. Children carried them in pockets. Workers used them in vending machines. Families stored them in jars during uncertain times. Because of this constant circulation, most 1936 pennies became severely worn. Lincoln's hair details flattened. The wheat lines faded almost completely. Surfaces developed scratches, corrosion, and damage from decades of handling. But every once in a while, a miracle occurred. A penny escaped circulation early and remained hidden away untouched for generations. Those surviving examples became legends among collectors because their preservation feels almost impossible considering the historical era they survived. One famous collector story describes a family cleaning out an abandoned farmhouse scheduled for demolition. Inside a wooden dresser drawer, hidden beneath old photographs and faded newspapers, they discovered a small cloth pouch filled with wheat pennies. Most appeared heavily worn and dark. But one 1936 no-mint mark penny immediately stood out because of its unusually sharp details and rich original toning. The surfaces carried deep chocolate and copper shades that only decades of untouched aging can create naturally. The family nearly sold the entire group to a local pawn shop for almost nothing before a coin enthusiast noticed the extraordinary condition of that single penny. That moment saved a hidden treasure from disappearing forever. Now picture the auction scene, because this is where reality starts feeling unbelievable. The room remained silent except for the faint flipping of catalog pages. Wealthy collectors sat studying enlarged photographs of the 1936 wheat penny projected across massive screens. The lighting revealed flawless fields, bold lettering, and strong wheat details rarely seen on Depression-era coins. Experienced bidders understood instantly what they were looking at. Coins like this almost never appear publicly. The auctioneer opened the bidding calmly, but within seconds the atmosphere transformed. $20,000, $35,000, $50,000. Paddles rose rapidly across the room. A phone bidder entered aggressively, pushing the price even higher. Tension filled the air as collectors fought for ownership of a coin most Americans would overlook on the sidewalk. $70,000 became $100,000. One bidder removed his glasses and leaned forward intensely while another whispered instructions to an auction representative. Then came the final battle. The room fell completely silent as the number crossed $200,000. Moments later, the hammer slammed down at an astonishing $252,000. For a 1-cent coin nearly lost to history. Do not spend this coin if you ever find one. What makes the 1936 no-mint mark wheat penny so emotionally powerful is the fact that it still feels accessible. Unlike treasures locked away behind museum glass, these coins occasionally reappear through ordinary life. Estate sales, garage sales, inherited collections, old bank rolls, forgotten jars hidden in closets. Every year, valuable wheat pennies accidentally return to circulation because families simply do not recognize them. Some people spend them at grocery stores. Others cash them into coin machines without a second thought. Collectors know this happens constantly, which is why demand continues exploding across the market. The dream of discovering hidden wealth inside ordinary change keeps millions of collectors searching relentlessly. Pay attention to this detail because condition changes everything. Serious collectors inspect Lincoln's cheek, jawline, and hair for signs of wear. They study the wheat stalks carefully, looking for visible grain lines and sharp definition. Even tiny scratches or cleaning marks can dramatically reduce value. And here is the mistake that destroys fortunes every single year: cleaning old coins. The moment someone scrubs a wheat penny with cloth, chemicals, or polish, microscopic damage appears across the surface instantly. Professional graders can identify cleaned coins immediately. Original, untouched surfaces are what advanced collectors crave most because they preserve the natural history of the coin. That aged toning, whether red, Red-brown, or deep brown, acts almost like a fingerprint, proving the coin survived naturally across generations. The collector demand surrounding 1936 wheat pennies has intensified dramatically in recent years because surviving premium examples are disappearing into private collections permanently. Younger investors entering the hobby view rare coins as historical assets with emotional and financial value. Unlike paper currency or digital investments, coins carry physical history people can hold in their hands. And the Great Depression connection gives the 1936 wheat penny even deeper emotional significance. These coins survived one of the hardest economic periods in American history, making them symbols of resilience and survival. Most people miss another fascinating detail. Some 1936 wheat pennies display unusually strong strikes due to fresh mint dies used during production. Others reveal subtle die cracks, tiny doubling characteristics, or exceptional luster that advanced specialists hunt aggressively. These microscopic differences create entire layers of rarity invisible to ordinary people. Two pennies may appear identical at first glance, yet one could be worth hundreds while another reaches six figures because of tiny production details only experts understand. That mystery fuels collector obsession worldwide. Imagine finding one inside your own home tonight. Imagine realizing a small dark wheat penny sitting unnoticed for years could secretly be worth more than a luxury sports car. That possibility is real. Hidden treasures continue slipping through ordinary life because most people never inspect pennies closely anymore. They assume old coins are worthless. They overlook dates. They ignore mint marks. And because of that, silent fortunes continue disappearing into circulation every single day. Before you spend another penny, stop and examine your change carefully. Look for the 1936 date. Look for the missing mint mark beneath the year. Study the surfaces under bright light. Watch for original color, sharp wheat details, and untouched texture, because the next hidden treasure could already be sitting inside a drawer, jar, or pocket nearby. And if you ever discover a coin that looks promising, remember the rule experienced collectors repeat constantly. Never clean it, never polish it, never rush into selling, and always seek professional grading first. One tiny coin from the Great Depression could completely transform your future. And most people are accidentally losing treasures like this without ever realizing it. Coin number 4. A restaurant owner in California was closing late one rainy night when he noticed a dark old penny stuck near the bottom of the register tray. Most people would have ignored it instantly because the coin looked worn, aged, and covered with strange black spots across the surface. In fact, one employee reportedly asked if they should throw it away because it looked damaged. But something about the date made the owner hesitate. It read 1955. Beneath the year sat a tiny mint mark from the San Francisco Mint. That single moment changed everything. What appeared to be an ugly old penny was actually one of the most mysterious hidden treasures collectors dream about finding. Weeks later, after professional inspection and authentication, that small spotted wheat penny stunned the coin world with a value approaching $197,500. And the frightening truth is this: coins exactly like this are still being mistaken for worthless damaged change every single day. The story behind the 1955 wheat penny feels almost cinematic because America during the mid-1950s was exploding with economic growth. Families were buying televisions, cars, and suburban homes while millions of coins circulated rapidly through diners, movie theaters, train stations, and corner stores. The San Francisco Mint, identified by the small s beneath the date, was producing pennies during a period when coin demand remained incredibly high. But unlike ordinary modern coins, wheat pennies from this era carried historical artistry and metal compositions collectors now obsess over. Most 1955s pennies entered circulation immediately and suffered decades of wear, scratches, moisture exposure, and mishandling. Some developed dark oxidation spots over time due to environmental exposure and natural copper reactions. Here's where things become fascinating. While many people assume black spots automatically destroy value, advanced collectors sometimes view naturally aged surfaces and original spotting as evidence the coin was never cleaned or altered. That originality can become incredibly important in high-end coin collecting. Stay with me because this detail changes how collectors see treasure completely. The design of the 1955s wheat penny remains one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. On the obverse side, Abraham Lincoln's profile faces right beneath the words, "In God We Trust." To the left appears Liberty, while the date 1955 and tiny S mint marks sit below. On the reverse side, two graceful wheat stalks rise along the edges framing 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum above. This famous wheat penny design represented everyday American life for decades. Yet hidden among billions produced were tiny numbers of extraordinary examples with unusual preservation, beautiful toning, or rare striking characteristics. What makes certain 1955s pennies especially valuable is the combination of historical survival, original surfaces, and collector demand for premium examples from the San Francisco Mint. Most people never realize how technical rare coin collecting becomes at this level. The 1955s wheat penny was struck using a composition of 95% copper, with the remaining 5% consisting of tin and zinc. That high copper content gave the coin its rich, warm appearance and also explains why natural color changes developed over decades. The coin weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and carries a thickness of around 1.52 millimeters. Its edge is completely plain without ridges. Advanced collectors inspect these exact specifications carefully because authenticity matters enormously when coins begin reaching six-figure values. Even tiny differences in weight or texture can signal damage, counterfeiting, or alteration attempts. Professional graders examine surfaces under magnification looking for evidence of artificial cleaning, chemical treatments, or repair damage. Now imagine the journey this particular coin may have survived. During the 1950s, pennies moved constantly through American hands. Children used them for candy. Workers carried them in lunch pails. Families stored them in kitchen jars. Over decades, moisture, humidity, and oxidation naturally affected many copper coins, creating dark spots and unusual toning patterns. Most people see those marks and assume the coin is ruined. But experienced collectors know something important. Natural, untouched surfaces are often far more desirable than clean, shiny coins stripped of their history. Black spots caused by age and oxidation can actually confirm originality if the underlying surfaces remain authentic and unaltered. That's why collectors study toning patterns carefully. Some coins develop deep chocolate shades mixed with red flashes and midnight black spotting that create an appearance impossible to duplicate artificially. One retired bank employee told collectors about discovering several old wheat pennies while sorting abandoned coin rolls from a closed account. Nearly all appeared common and heavily worn. But one 1955s penny immediately stood out because of its dramatic black spotting and unusually sharp wheat details. The surfaces looked old but untouched, almost frozen in time. At first, coworkers joked that the coin looked dirty or burned. But under proper lighting, the penny revealed traces of original mint luster hidden beneath the dark toning. Lincoln's jawline remained strong. The wheat stalks displayed surprising detail. Even the lettering looked crisp for a coin that old. Instead of cleaning it, the employee wisely sent it for professional grading. That decision protected a hidden fortune from being destroyed forever. What happened next shocked even experienced collectors. The auction room remained unusually quiet when the coin first appeared on display. Some attendees leaned closer, fascinated by the dark spotted surfaces glowing beneath the lights. Others studied enlarged photographs projected across giant screens. The atmosphere felt tense because everyone understood this was not an ordinary wheat penny. The originality of the surfaces, the rarity of the preservation, and the growing collector obsession surrounding premium San Francisco issues had created enormous anticipation. Bidding opened aggressively. $20,000 arrived almost instantly. Then 30. Then 50. Several collectors dropped out early, but a handful remained locked in a serious battle. One bidder sitting near the back raised his paddle repeatedly without hesitation. A private collector bidding through telephone representation responded immediately each time. The numbers became surreal. 75,000 crossed into 100,000. The audience fell completely silent. Then came the final explosive moments as bids pushed toward $200,000. The auctioneer paused dramatically before slamming the hammer down at an astonishing $197,500. For one penny many people would have thrown away because of black spots. Do not spend this coin if you ever find one. This is exactly why hidden treasures continue disappearing into circulation unnoticed. Most people judge old coins too quickly. They assume dark toning means damage. They polish coins trying to make them shiny again. They scrub away the very surfaces collectors desperately want preserved. And every year, fortunes vanish because of those mistakes. The collector market today values originality above almost everything else. Natural surfaces tell the true story of a coin's survival through decades of American history. Once cleaned, that history disappears permanently. Pay attention to this because advanced collectors inspect specific features immediately when evaluating a 1955 wheat penny. They examine Lincoln's cheek and hair for wear. They inspect the wheat stalks carefully looking for visible grain lines and strike sharpness. They study the fields surrounding the lettering searching for scratches or evidence of polishing. And most importantly, they analyze the toning itself. Natural oxidation patterns develop slowly over decades and create depth impossible to fake convincingly. Artificially cleaned coins often appear unnaturally bright and lifeless under magnification. Original examples with authentic surfaces generate the strongest collector demand because surviving untouched pennies from the 1950s are becoming increasingly rare. Another detail most people miss involves the San Francisco Mint itself. Coins struck there during certain years often display distinctive strike qualities and surface textures specialists can identify instantly. Some 1955 wheat pennies reveal unusually bold details, while others show subtle dye characteristics collectors obsess over. Tiny variations invisible to ordinary people can separate common examples from extraordinary rarities worth life-changing money. Entire collector communities spend years studying these microscopic details because one overlooked characteristic can transform a penny into a legendary discovery. Imagine finding one tonight inside an inherited coin jar or forgotten drawer. Imagine almost throwing it away because of black spots before realizing it could secretly be worth nearly $200,000. That possibility is real. Valuable wheat pennies still appear unexpectedly because families unknowingly spend old collections every year. Coin machines swallow rare pennies constantly. Cashiers hand them out unknowingly. Flea markets sell them in bulk containers for almost nothing. Hidden treasures continue moving silently through ordinary life while collectors search desperately to rescue them before they disappear forever. Before you ignore another old penny, stop and inspect it carefully under bright light. Look for the 1955 date. Look for the small S mint mark beneath it. Study the surfaces closely, especially unusual dark toning or black spotting. Sometimes what looks unattractive to ordinary people becomes irresistible to advanced collectors because originality matters more than shine. And if you ever discover a wheat penny that feels unusual, remember the most important rule in rare coin collecting. Never clean it, never polish it, never scrape the surface, and never rush into selling before professional authentication. Hidden fortunes still exist in plain sight, and people are accidentally losing them every single day without realizing it. Final coin. A woman cleaning out her late father's garage found an old glass jar buried behind rusted tools and faded newspapers. Inside were hundreds of dirty pennies covered in dust, oil, and age. Most looked worthless. Some were dark brown. Others carried strange black layers from decades of storage. She almost poured the entire jar into a coin-counting machine at a grocery store without checking a single date. But one coin caught her eye because it looked older than the rest. The surface carried a thin black layer across the copper, almost like smoke frozen into the metal. The date read 1944. There was no mint mark beneath the year. And without realizing it, she was holding one of the most emotionally powerful hidden treasures in American coin history. Months later, after authentication and auction drama that stunned collectors nationwide, that single wheat penny shocked the market with a value reaching an unbelievable $265,000. A fortune hidden inside a coin most people would have mistaken for damaged pocket change. And the terrifying truth is that coins like this are still being accidentally spent every single day. The 1944 wheat penny without a mint mark was born during one of the most dramatic periods America had ever experienced. World War II still dominated daily life. Just 1 year earlier, in 1943, the United States Mint famously produced steel pennies to conserve copper for wartime ammunition and military equipment. But by 1944, the Mint returned to copper coin production using recycled wartime shell casings and recovered metal supplies. That history alone makes the 1944 wheat penny legendary among collectors because every coin from this year carries a direct connection to World War II itself. Think about that for a moment. This tiny copper coin may contain metal once tied to battlefield equipment, military manufacturing, or wartime industry. That emotional historical connection transforms the coin into more than currency. It becomes a surviving artifact from one of the most important moments in modern history. Stay with me because this next detail changes everything. Unlike coins from Denver or San Francisco, Philadelphia minted pennies during this era carried no mint mark at all. The empty space beneath the 1944 date is what identifies the coin's origin. Most people never notice that detail. They simply see an old penny and move on. But experienced collectors know the absence of a mint mark tells an entirely different story. Millions of 1944 pennies circulated aggressively during wartime America. They passed through military bases, train stations, grocery stores, factories, and family kitchens. Most became heavily worn within years. Others were lost, melted, damaged, or cleaned improperly over decades. Very few survived with strong detail, original surfaces, and attractive natural toning. That's why high-grade examples today create absolute chaos inside the collector market. Take a close look at the design because this coin carries one of the most iconic appearances in American numismatic history. On the obverse side, Abraham Lincoln's profile faces right beneath the words, "In God We Trust." Beside him appears Liberty, while the date 1944 sits clearly below. There is no mint mark beneath the date, confirming the coin came from Philadelphia. The reverse side features the famous wheat stalks stretching upward along both sides of the coin, framing 1 cent and United States of America. Above them rests E pluribus unum. Those wheat ears symbolize endurance, growth, and American resilience during wartime hardship. And for collectors, the wheat penny design represents the golden age of coin collecting itself. These coins feel deeply connected to real American history in a way modern coins rarely do. Most people completely underestimate how technical rare coin collecting becomes at this level. The 1944 wheat penny was struck using a composition of 95% copper, with the remaining 5% consisting of zinc and tin. Because recycled wartime metals were often used during production, many 1944 pennies developed unique surface characteristics and toning patterns over time. The coin weighs approximately 3.11 grams, measures 19.05 millimeters in diameter, and carries a thickness near 1.52 millimeters with a plain, smooth edge. Advanced collectors inspect every one of these details carefully because authentication is critical when values reach 6 figures. Even slight abnormalities in weight, strike quality, or color can dramatically affect value. Professional graders examine coins under magnification, searching for scratches, cleaning marks, corrosion, artificial toning, or evidence of alteration. And this is where the mystery surrounding lightly black layered wheat pennies becomes fascinating. Many ordinary people see dark toning and immediately assume a coin is ruined. But experienced collectors understand natural aging can create breathtaking surface character impossible to duplicate artificially. Over decades, copper reacts slowly to air, moisture, and environmental exposure, creating deep shades of red, brown, black, and gold across the surfaces. A lightly black layer can actually signal originality if the underlying mint texture remains intact. That originality is priceless to serious collectors because it proves the coin survived naturally without polishing or chemical cleaning. Once a coin is cleaned aggressively, its historical skin disappears forever. The value can collapse instantly. One collector shared a story about purchasing an old cigar box at an estate sale for almost nothing. Inside were scattered wheat pennies mixed with buttons and faded receipts. Most appeared heavily circulated. But one 1944 no-mint mark penny stood out because of its unusual dark layered toning and unexpectedly sharp details beneath the surface. Under direct light, traces of original copper red brilliance flashed through the blackened areas like hidden fire beneath ash. Lincoln's coat lines remained visible. The wheat stalks showed surprising grain detail. Even the lettering appeared unusually bold for a wartime penny. Experts later confirmed the coin retained remarkable originality with natural, untouched surfaces. News spread quickly through collector circles, and suddenly major buyers across the country became obsessed with obtaining it. Now imagine the auction room because this moment became legendary among coin collectors. The lights dimmed slightly as the 1944 wheat penny appeared on giant projection screens rotating slowly beneath magnification cameras. The atmosphere felt electric. Collectors leaned forward, studying every detail of the dark layered toning. Nobody in that room saw an ordinary penny anymore. They saw survival, history, rarity, authenticity. The auctioneer opened bidding calmly, but within seconds paddles shot upward across the room. $20,000, $40,000, 60,000. The pace became relentless. Phone bidders entered aggressively while private collectors refused to back down. One elderly bidder reportedly whispered, "I've waited 30 years for a coin like this." The room fell completely silent once the numbers crossed $150,000. Every bid afterward felt unreal. Then came the final battle between two determined collectors pushing the price higher and higher before the hammer finally slammed down at an astonishing $265,000. For one penny nearly dumped into a grocery store coin machine. Do not spend this coin if you ever find one. This changes everything because it proves hidden fortunes still exist inside ordinary American change. Valuable wheat pennies continue surfacing in old collections, inherited jars, abandoned bank rolls, and forgotten drawers because families often never learn their true value. Some people unknowingly spend them at convenience stores. Others clean them trying to remove dark toning, destroying the exact originality collectors crave most. Every year, hidden treasures vanish because ordinary people mistake history for worthless spare change. Pay attention to this because advanced collectors inspect very specific features when evaluating a 1944 no-mint mark wheat penny. They study Lincoln's cheek and jawline for friction wear. They inspect the wheat stalks looking for full grain separation. They examine the fields under magnification searching for scratches or polishing marks. Most importantly, they analyze the toning itself. Natural surface aging develops gradually and creates depth impossible to reproduce artificially. Coins with original, untouched toning often command far stronger prices than clean, bright examples because originality has become the ultimate prize in modern coin collecting. Another fascinating detail most people never hear involves wartime copper itself. Because the mint used recycled shell casing metal during 1944 production, many collectors feel these coins carry emotional historical energy, unlike ordinary pennies. Some specialists even pursue certain 1944 examples specifically for their wartime metal coloration and striking characteristics. Tiny variations invisible to casual observers can make one coin dramatically rarer than another. That obsession fuels fierce competition across the collector market today. Imagine finding one yourself tonight. Imagine opening an old family jar and seeing a dark wheat penny you almost ignore because of a black layer across the surface. Most people would never realize they might be holding a hidden treasure worth more than a luxury car collection. But that possibility is exactly why wheat penny collecting has exploded worldwide. Every collector dreams of discovering a silent fortune hiding in plain sight. And now we arrive at the truth most people never hear. Rare coins are disappearing every single day because ordinary people continue overlooking them. Hidden treasures are still circulating quietly through flea markets, estate sales, coin jars, and inherited collections while collectors search desperately to rescue them before they vanish forever into circulation or damage. So before you spend another old penny, stop and inspect it carefully. Look for the 1944 date. Look for the missing mint mark. Study the surfaces closely under bright light. And if you ever discover something unusual, remember the rule experienced collectors repeat constantly. Never clean the coin, never polish the surface, never scrape away dark toning, and never rush into selling before professional grading. Because one forgotten penny from World War II could completely change your life. If this video saves you from accidentally spending a hidden fortune, subscribe right now because these are the secrets most people never hear. And before you leave, go check your pockets, old jars, drawers, and family collections carefully. Because somewhere out there, another silent fortune is still waiting to be discovered.